languages, JavaScript, in very accessible languages where they
Right.
can build something that has real utility, right?
Right.
And it's not just building based on speculation. So let me bring that to life for you. Like one of the reasons why Google was interested in onboarding, I said yes from being one click away, like altruistic for Web3 and letting Web3 grow, but on Stability as the first permissionless public blockchain. And I say that because just like the internet, you now have a public blockchain that is available to anyone, right?
Right.
For free.
Yeah.
You we can build a Google add-in, right? Where
Hmm.
you can go to your Google Suite, go open any document, create a document, go file save to blockchain for free. That is how you onboard hundreds of millions of users very, very quickly, because there's a utility in that people need to authenticate their data. Obviously, with AI, where it's going, you need that data provenance. This is a way that you can mathematically prove that you created that document on that day. It belongs to you, like done. That's a big utility. Now, there's going to be a lot of money in that, and there's going to be developers that are going to want to build for that, and there's going to be a lot of white space. So I think that's where you get into the applications. The builders on our blockchain will be able to make money because they're going to get a lot of users. Because look at your smartphone in front of you. How many Web3 applications do you have on that smartphone today? Zero. I have zero as well. Like, we're not using these. There is no Uber app that's a Web3 version on your phone today
Yeah.
that a ton of people are using. Otherwise, we would know about it.
Hmm.
That's the problem that we can solve by allowing that to happen. So let me just talk for a second how that's even possible. Because so Stability is just the blockchain. Partnerships are really important. So we've partnered with Magic Link, which
Right.
is probably the best Web3 wallet onboarding experience, where you can do a single sign on one click
Right.
experience. They've got investment from PayPal. They've raised 80 million bucks. They're a really solid group. They've built a wonderful custom wallet for Stability. So you can click with any social login. You're immediately at the application. That application you'll already have a brand new unfunded wallet associated with you based on your email, and you can now transact immediately with that application. You could make an NFT, you could do anything, any transaction. And that is a game changer.
Absolutely. I do think that this is going to change the way, people perceive blockchains as well, because, as we were talking earlier, I think I'm also a huge proponent of, creating perhaps interactive applications and creating applications in Web3, which lead to greater adoption, and not taking perhaps the token first approach, which is what a lot of people do. And then, that is an entirely different different ball game. I think, if you do have your own native token, then that is another full-time job that you're assigning yourself, just the management of that token and the economy.
You're so right. And I think, like, I like to ask this question to folks because it's a great mental exercise of how much money did, for example, Polygon make by bringing on Starbucks and their Odyssey loyalty program, right?
Yeah.
Right. The answer is $0.
Yeah.
What they
Yeah.
what they make is their token goes up and they can sell that token and make money. They have a
Yeah.
finite supply of that token, which makes that an unsustainable business model. When we get out of Web3 and go into Web2, their number one focus is a totally different needs and priority list. Like, don't get in trouble with regulators, need to
Mm.
have predictable cost, compliance, performance, scale. These are the check marks that they have, right? And tying your business to a blockchain that has a highly speculative, unsustainable business model in that sense. And I know that sounds like a very downtrodden on the space. I'm not doing that. I think that, like, Ethereum and Bitcoin are going to exist and be exceptional Web3 like currencies, because that's what they are. They're
Absolutely.
they're
Their currency.
currencies,
Yeah.
and they're not. And that's what we have to also, and take a slight digression. we all thought Ethereum back in the day was global compute. Ethereum doesn't say that anymore, and they tell you to take your compute to another blockchain to run your transactions. Just use Ethereum as the native gas token, as the currency on that other blockchain, right? On that L2.
Yeah.
That is just adding.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
just a little unsustainable. It doesn't seem like, you're there in for the long game. That is how I perceive it. The way, it seems like very short-term gains are being made out of these perspectives, and something has to change for people to look at it differently and to use and interact with Web3 differently.
Yeah, we need users. I think the easiest way to say is we need users,
Yeah,
as well, versus speculators. And
absolutely.
today,
Yeah.
I'm not sure we have any Web3 users, even though we have numbers of people doing on-chain transactions. It's largely about speculation. So here's a really big differentiator that I haven't touched on, is that Stability is the first public blockchain that can do non-financial transactions. And what do I mean by non-financial transactions? And this goes back to my global compute perspective, where I think Stability steps into that role for global compute, is that all public blockchains require a gas fee, must pay. So therefore, whatever action you're doing has a hurdle of some number, some payment number, right?
Yeah.
And it's a financial transaction by definition.
Absolutely.
Stability allows zero gas, zero fee, feeless transactions. And now you can run non-financial transactions. A Facebook-like is a transaction in a sense, right? And there's like, what value does it have? It has value because Facebook has a lot of value, right? But you need to be able to start tracking things and not have this threshold. And the great way to look at this is in gaming, like Web3 gaming. We don't have a lot of usership because you financialize the game. Every action has to have this hurdle. It must give you more value than the money you pay for it, right? And that just removes so much opportunity, so much white space for implementation of blockchain.
Yeah, this is a very refreshing perspective. I talk to so many founders and people who are building in Web3, and yours seems to be very aligned to, the way I kind of envision the future of Web3 and the way I see mass adoption being happening. Like I am a true believer, like the example that you gave, that apps like Uber or apps that we use a lot in our day-to-day lives, none of those exist in Web3 right now, and they are due to some limits that are posed by the technology itself, and also because there has been too much noise around the speculation aspect, and very little, perhaps, the correct kind of noise around user adoption and correct use cases. So, and as you said, non-financial transactions. That is a beautiful way to put it, because mostly people look at it in terms of money and tokens, and that is a perspective that needs to change.
Yes, we need utility focused applications. That's what we're building. Like today, we're partnering with Magic. We're building a very cool fintech app where you can move stable coins without touching crypto. And so let me put that in perspective of how big of an unlock that is. Stable coins, USDC, for example, has like probably $30 to $40 billion in circulation. Right. This is the best digital asset. When I say best, I'm defining it by like today for usership, like could get mass global adoption where enterprises and people all around the world could use this. What's the barrier of them growing their business is that their total addressable market is like the less than 10 million people on planet Earth that are doing an on-chain transaction in a given month, because to move it, you must pay a gas fee. So the only way they grow their business is they onboard to integrate with another blockchain. And that's when you see like Circle's website, you see onboarding to Arbitrum, onboarding to Optimism, onboarding to Base, onboarding to these places, right? And it's the same market. Yeah. And so what we offer is, how about you can have someone sign in to a Web3 application that totally unfunded, right? And someone send them stablecoin if you want. That's great. Or they could buy stablecoin and transact it, but never having to have like to fill a gap, like pay in ETH, pay in Pi, all of these native currencies. They're being gate kept. Stablecoins, just like blockchain, are being gate kept by
Hmm.
cryptocurrency. And
Yeah.
so you can recreate the entire PayPal ecosystem with an on-chain application that is permissionless and available to everyone, very relatively easily. But you have to have a tokenless blockchain to unlock that.
Yeah. No, this is a beautiful perspective. So, if in one perhaps line you had to define like what stability does, maybe we can call it like a high availability, decentralized database that you can sort of build on and deploy without ever sort of touching tokens.
Yeah, you hit it right. Like you double clicking on the database front.
Yeah.
That's really what a blockchain is,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And we're potentially, I didn't know we'd go here because it's like a little bit more out there, but really at the end of the day, we have a solution that can be like the Web3 cloud. It's like what cloud was early
Yeah.
days, and now we have global compute. Like we
Exactly.
can
That is
scale
why
it
I
up.
said high availability, data, a database. So that is exactly what you're building.
Exactly. Yes. It's just a matter of trying to make it come to life
Yeah.
for people. You usually have to come down a few steps
Hmm.
to show the actual applications and specific use cases to bring it to life. But to put it in perspective, um, like another use case of like database, like that's a big aspect of what we're offering to go to these enterprise customers is you can have better security, better uptime, a global state, and lower costs than your cloud server structure that you're paying a lot for, which has less of all of the things I just mentioned.
Hmm.
And but that's going to take time, just like it took a decade for people to go from their bare metal machines in their office of servers to the cloud. It's going to take more time for people to transition from the cloud to the blockchain. But that will happen in the future now that we can have an actual scalable system that's non-reliant on a token, which is like just optimized for a cryptocurrency. We just need to optimize for utility, and then that should unlock.
Yeah. This is wonderful. So, now coming to perhaps the next big milestone for you guys, what would that be? And when are you expecting to hit it?
Yeah, the next big milestone is mainnet. But there's some small milestones of bringing customers on board. We have a handful of customers we brought on in the last month, and because we've been in a cave building for the last 14 months, and the last 30 days we've come out with here's what stability is, and come use it. We will switch on mainnet in the new year once we hit a mass quantity of customers. And I think that's probably in the 15 to 20 customer range. And yeah, so that if there are companies or use cases or people who want to explore the potential of what they can build on
Hmm.
stability,
Hmm.
please reach out. We will happily work with you. It's these early builders and these early validators and companies with use cases that we're going to spend our most effort as a developer team making sure that they're successful.
Brilliant, brilliant. So, I would encourage everybody who's thinking of building in this space in Web3, especially, to get in touch with Klay and his team because what they're building is truly groundbreaking and it's very different from any of these other layers. And I have talked to so many founders of multiple layers that I haven't heard a vision like this, and I'm more part of you guys. Like I'm really thoroughly impressed by this particular take that you have. It's very refreshing.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I really appreciate the time that we've had to explore it. I look forward to coming back and continuing the conversation with you. Um,
Absolutely.
thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, but before we wrap this up, I would love to ask you about any challenges that you might have faced while building this, and this will be my second to last question. I'll come
Oh,
to
sure.
the last question after you answer this.
Yeah. Challenges. I think as it's been for all of us, and
Yeah,
for me, the many years trying to get the big institutions and banks involved, it's education. Um, I would say we're from a industry perspective, I'm a little bit disappointed in the venture space of like the venture capitalists. There's a real filter on really thoughtful companies like ours that's coming into to the space because we don't have a token.
yeah,
And the venture capitalists, I totally understand their perspective is they can make a lot of money on a token despite if whether regardless if the blockchain is successful, and we know most are not, and they know that. And so this is why we're in kind of regulatory hot water in here in the US and then around the world, is it becomes a very extractive process where the end user, the retail user, is the one who loses because the VCs get in early and then it goes mainnet, which is the equivalent of a initial public offering, and they can sell and move on. So that I worry about for the whole space. It's been a challenge for us. We're one of the few that can have the resources to self-fund ourselves. And so we've willed this in perspective. There's not very many teams that can sustain a 13-person team for 14 months
yeah.
to build a vision like this. And that's okay. I kind of am disappointed that there's probably a lot of really other like wonderful founders out there with really amazing utility focused ideas that might not be getting funded. So that's kind of a call out, that venture needs to do their job. And
Yeah,
their job as an apparatus in society is to fund innovation, that can be a paradigm shift. And they have a fiduciary responsibility, but to make good like to make money, and I get that. But these are big opportunities. Like these are SaaS business models with large return profiles. So that would be, I would say, the one challenge that I've noticed, but it's one that we can easily overcome. I just worry about the rest of my fellow builders.
absolutely. No, I think I totally agree with your perspective. What happens with this entire space, when you look for funding and you have like say a 0 to 1 product, a product that is very innovative in nature and they haven't seen it, they can be really, really risk averse as well. And as you said, even though you guys have a very solid revenue model, and even then, if they are still risk averse just because you don't have perhaps a token, that is a little absurd, right? It's about getting the best return on your buck, and funding innovation is going to get you there, not like funding another, layer two, perhaps.
Exactly. Yeah.
This is this is very eye-opening, and I think you've been very honest, and I appreciate the candor, absolutely. And because we were already running out of time, but I really don't want this conversation to end, so I managed to put in one more question. But now I think I'll have to come to the last question, which I ask everybody who comes on the show. You have been in the space for some time, and before that you were in Web2. If you had to give some suggestions to builders or users who are perhaps peering in from the other side, what would be your top 2 suggestions for them to start living on blockchain?
Yeah. First, I would say try to solve real problems
Yeah,
that will offer utility for everyone.
absolutely.
I think that's the first step, because the revenue, the profit, the outcome, the financial outcome will occur, if you have like a solid vision and a long-term perspective. The second part is surround yourself with people who share your vision. At Stability, the culture and the ethos is so aligned that everyone is so excited to come to work every day because
Hmm.
we're building and we're going in that direction. And so I would say recreating those two things, you'll just significantly increase your odds of success in a startup land where, 95% of startups aren't successful. I feel you lower that crash and burn rate significantly just with those two ingredients.
Yeah, I think that's very, very sound advice. The first bit where you need to be solving a problem, there are a lot of founders and a lot of builders. And I think we've also, I have personally been also guilty of this, that, I think of of a problem and I start building for a solution without ever realizing that perhaps this is not a problem that actual users are facing. And, that product is not going to work, right? It has,
Yeah.
it'll only work when you are actually being able to add value in terms either in being a painkiller or a vitamin for the user. Otherwise,
Right.
it's a complete uphill battle trying to convince a user of a problem that they really cannot see in that time and age.
Yeah, that's totally right. I often think it's like, am I solving a real problem they're facing, or am I creating or solving an opportunity for them to take advantage of, right? And I think we're doing a lot of the offering opportunities in Web3 today and not solving real problems.
Absolutely. I totally agree. I think that is essentially how, the next bull run is going to come, I think, when there are real folks, and a lot of adoption will come when there are real problems being solved and there are platforms that are actually adding value on a day-to-day basis in their users' lives.
Absolutely.
This has been a very wonderful conversation, Klay. Thank you so much for making the time to speak to me. Before we wrap this up, any parting words?
No, I think everyone, I think we are getting into a new bull market. I think it's starting. I think it's a funny one for me because the numbers don't really matter anymore because I'm not focused on them. I'm focused on utility. And so I would say utilize the bull market to get funding to build real products. That's the goal, because there's going to be a lot of noise like every bull market.
Yeah.
And so that would be my parting words. And reach out if I can be helpful to anyone in any way. This is a small community still, like we really are, and we all need to help each other out to make it better.
Absolutely. I think it's a small community, and we can only help each other become bigger and become greater. I truly believe that collaboration is key when you are, especially when you're in an industry which is still in its infancy.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Klay, for doing this. I'm very, very grateful.
Thank you, Teresa.